Hello, how'd you do? We're going to do a video on honing today, more so finishing. So I've got these two, well, kind of identical razors, same company, same brand, same make, even got the same scales now. Did the scales, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. So I've gone through my full progression. This one was my one anyway, and it had a really good edge. But because I polished it and stuff on the old buffer, I thought, well, I need to put a new edge on it, and I always do anyway. I checked it under the microscope, there was no nicks or nothing, so nothing untoward had happened. But anyway, gives me a time to just refine the edge, because you know, I get an edge shave ready, I shave with it, but sometimes you can probably go a little bit more with it, if you know what I mean. But I'll save that for a later date. Sometimes anyway, you know, sometimes I'll stick on it for ages and keep going on it. But so anyway, yeah, it's definitely got what I'd call now a refined edge, one of my best edges, all up to Shapton 12,000. Just lovely razors, they really are. Lovely razor. Right, so what I'm going to do today in terms of finishing is I've got a Coticule. So this is my Jnat. You've seen my Jnat a few times. It's a lovely stone. Works a treat. It's consistent. It's a known stone. I know how to get, well, maybe not the best out of it yet, because it's still a relatively newish stone. But I know how it works. Let's put it that way. I know how to get good edges out of it. So what I've got here is a Coticule, and I've never used it. I think I've nearly had it 2 years now, and this is from the 1950s, later 40s, nearly into the 60s I think. Travelling barber's set I bought. So I bought a job lot of shaving items that was sold under the guise of it was a travelling barber's set, and it was, because I had receipts, and I even had like this registration card for barbering and stuff. Yeah, it's quite interesting, some of the bits he had in it. But I bought it mainly for the stones. He had some straights in there, he had some scissors, he had some strops. That horse shell strop that I renovated, restored, that was his strop. Absolutely pasted in paste it was, especially on the linen side. And he also had this stone. So this stone is a coarse stone, and it's an oil stone. You can see it on the back, it's quite oily. I've tried to get it out as best as I can. It is as hard as anything to flatten it was. But I believe this was his bevel setting stone. Because it's a bit rougher. It's a nice stone though, I must say, whatever it is. I did look into it, but I forget now, was it a Wasiba? Anyway, whatever it is. Still smells a bit oily. I believe that's what he was doing his bevel setting and corrections on. And then I believed he was moving to his Coticule and then his pasted strops. He had this little tiny thick leather travel strop. I actually did a video on over a year ago, I think. This little thick leather thing. Lovely little thing it was. And then he had his like normal hanging strop. So we're going to give it a whirl. I flattened it. It's already flattened anyway, but I'll give it another quick go today. You can see there's a little tiny dish going that way, and I think there's a tiny little sort of dish going that way as well, but it don't matter. You know, I'm somebody that tries to preserve things. It don't need to be dead flat there. Even if I was using it that way, it don't matter, but I'll be using it that way anyway today. You know, you utilise your materials, so whether it's metal, it's stone, you know, you do your best by them. That's my motto anyway. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put a Jnat edge on that one, which was my original one, and then I'm going to put a Coticule edge on this, and then I'll shave with them, and I'm going to get kind of a good gauge for the old Coticule. And I've got a little Coticule slurry stone, but I won't be using that today. I've got my little cut off from an old Jnat I had, which is just marvellous little slurry stone. It's very precious to me though, it's quite little. Never be able to get it again obviously, because I've sold the other stone. And then I've got this, it's called like a natty hammer. It's from a mine in Japan that's known for its hard stones, and it is hard. It's kind of on par with my Jnat, because my Jnat's hard anyway. And you have to be a little bit careful with this, what you par it with, because sometimes it can get a bit scratchy and a bit bitty. So you have to be quite careful with that. So I'm not going to touch that today, but I thought I'd just show you it. It's a lovely stone. Feels lovely on the. That's the good side. Yeah, it's nice feel to it. I'd like to get a big one of them. And just because I could, this is my. That's the that's the water of air side, and that's the tam. That mark there is just from where I've sprayed the sides, and I've not used it since. Well, the tam anyway. It's just a lovely stone, and this is a known finisher now. I've done over 10 razors with it. I actually sold one to some chap in Canada, and he wanted to try a water of air edge, and he got it the other day, and he said it's a marvellous edge and lovely and comfortable and everything. So it's a good stone. It's a known stone now. I can be confident that, you know, I do my normal sort of routines with it and everything, and it's going to be good to go, and I don't have to worry about it. So what I'm going to do with this Coticule as well is, like, I'm going to plan to put 3 razors for it. I might not film all of them because, you know, it's the same old video really, isn't it? But what I'm going to do is this one, because the way I test stones when I get them, you know, some people kind of, they go online and they're like, oh, how does this work with this stone? And then you get like 10 people telling you this and that, and it's pointless. Just have your own system. Like, this is my theory anyway. Have your own bloody system. You know, come from it from a semi-logical point of view, and you'll get semi-logical results. You know, you can't ever be perfect on these things, because at the end of the day, it's a stone. You can come. So I'm just trying to find a plate. You can come from a. You know, you could flatten it down with a DMT plate, dye a flat plate, and then you'll hit something. You know, so. But yeah, what I'm going to do, and it's what I do with nearly all my stones, is, and again, it's like, I like consistency. So I've got this little diamond plate. It's not rough, but then it's not massively smooth either. It's not as smooth as my other DMT plates I've got. And what we're going to do is, the first one, I'm going to do a DMT plate slurry. I think it's called a Diamond Nagora, or something like that, a Diamond Nagora. Anyway, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to use its own juice. And then the second one, I'll probably use this Coticule. So it's a Coticule versus a Coticule. And I've used these slurry stones on my Jnats and everything. I had 3 or 4 of these, and I sold them because I only need one. And then finally, I use my Magiro on the 3rd razor. And that's it. I think after 3 razors on those different things, I'll be able to judge the stone in terms of, does it prefer this, does it prefer that, or does it prefer my Magiro. But yeah, that's it really. That's what we're going to do. So first off, I'm going to do my Jnat, because I don't have to think about that too much. It's just bish bash bosh really, because I've used it so much now. I was using it that way last night, up there, so I'll use it this way today. I flattened it the other day with the dyer plate. I don't do that too often. It's got a few scratches in it and stuff, you can see them, but they do not affect the razor honing in one bit. I use my little plate sometimes to give it a bit of a livener, because sometimes it can get a bit too glass-like. A couple of the razors I was finishing was it last night or the night before? Cool, one of the razors literally felt like glass, it did. It just felt like it was on nothing, but it really was doing the job. Just to combine out, I forget what steel it was actually now, I forget what razor it was. Done so many this week. Forget. So I'll be filming it as well with a microscope. I'm going to try and edit it all together. I've tried to do this 3 times now, and frankly I've like ballsed it up, so I've just deleted all of it and I'm starting afresh. So I've got a new, well not new, but I've got a formatted card in my microscope, nothing on it. I've got lots of memory in my old camcorder up there. Yeah, I've had a right mare with it, I tell you. Me and editing are not friends, let's put it that way. I was getting confused, I couldn't find the ones that I've done in that, so now I've time stamped it as well, like. So I should just be able to read the timestamps now and marry them together. Just got too confusing. I was wasting too much time. I was at it for like 3 hours the other day, just trying to sort out like what videos with what microscope. Oh dear. I can't get my head around what I want to do with my editing now, but anyway, enough of that. So Jnat, just gonna wet it up, slurry it up, put the old razor on it, and then we'll wash it off and we'll do no slurry. Right, I'm just gonna do a quick video so you can see the Shapton Pro 12,000 edge. I must say this is a nice edge on here. The other edge is very similar, but it's not quite as good as this, and I don't expect it to be. That's a new razor to me. It's one of mine to keep, so I'll just tinker with it as it goes along. Right, sorry, let's just figure this out. Right, camera, go. Record, go. So this is a Shapton Pro edge, and as you can see, that's near the heel. It's like a laser, it really is. Sometimes it can be a tiny bit too bitey. Like most times out of not, it's just a lovely nice shaving edge, especially when you stropped it decent. And I'll get you another angle from that. It's come from a different angle. There we go. It's quite representative of 12,000. Sort of. There's a few sort of little bits and bobs in there that I could continue, especially if I took it back to the 8. But I know from probably doing over 1,000 razors now that I don't need to worry about it too much, because it'll be all good. Hang on, I'll just turn that off without pressing stop record. Let's see if it has recorded it. I'll be annoyed if it hasn't. Yes, I believe it has. Let's just quickly check that. Is it the 27th today? It is, yeah. What's the time? Oh, yeah, timestamp's all correct. Yeah, good to go. Right, let's just turn that off. Right, so let's get this Majiro on the go. It's quite a big old Majiro. I managed to find one that was quite big. I wanted to get one that was a bit big because I knew I wanted this one, you know, as one of my keepers basically. Like, I just don't have to even think about it again. It'll probably see me out even if I do 1,000 razors a year, which I'm not kind of really planning on doing, but you know. And what I'm doing is I'm doing that as I'm doing that. I was doing this because I read somewhere, and again this is the problem with bloody reading things sometimes, to do that and you end up with like almost like a ball shape in the end. Like obviously like that's exaggerating me using that, but you know, I was doing that. But anyway, I stopped doing that because I was getting bits come off because I was banging on the stone probably just a little bit too much, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. So instead now I just do that, just do this, and it stops it sticking. And eventually, well not eventually because it's done it already, I'm going to end up with kind of like a concave end to it, because when I got this, I flattened it and gee whiz, I couldn't even move it. It was like stuck to it, like especially on this stone, this Jnat. It's got a very fine, hard surface to it. What I'm looking for with a slurry is just about kind of see a bit of sort of mist. Yeah, mist's the right word. So I'm just about to get in it now. And if I would have livened it up with a DMT plate or even my little diamond plate beforehand, it cuts the Nagora a little bit sort of quicker than this. But it's a hard stone, you see, so when I had my other Jnat and I was testing them out and everything, that got a slurry up real quick. That was the combination of more the slurry stone and the base stone, whereas this is just more the slurry stone, I believe anyway. You know, I'm not a scientist. So then I just do that, because I think it gets some off the bottom. Whether it does or not, who knows. But anyway, to me, that's about kind of right. And I like keeping it quite moist. So let's just see how it goes. I do full laps. can already feel that sort of juddering around a little bit, if you know what I mean. If you do finishing on razors, you'll know what I mean. Bit sticky in that. Not juddering in a bad way though. There is a bad way of juddering, and you only really learn that through experience. So we do some nice, flowy, slow, concentrated lats. Certainly don't need to go fast when you're doing your finishing. Like I can go really fast, especially doing my V-laps, but you don't want to be doing that. One little tiny mistake and you'd have to take it back to at least sort of, I don't know, kind of at least a 5,000. And there's just no need anyway. This is the zen part, isn't it? This truly is the meditative part of honing razors. You know, you can relax, take your time, get in the zone and do a lovely bit of honing. It's one of the sides of straight razors that some people, well, it don't get advertised as much. You know, there's a very few therapeutic side to straight razors, like not just shaving with them and getting the thrill, the joy, and obviously a great shave, great experience at the same time, but you also get to hone straight razors. Because if you're going to go down the straight razor route, eventually you've got to get some stones, gents. You have. Like I always say, you know, like I sell straight razors, and I always encourage everybody I sell to eventually start, you know, getting stones. You know, I get some people and they're like, oh, what if I mess it up? Can I send it back? And it's like, yeah, of course you can. You know, what if further down the line I still don't want to get stones, or I ain't got stones because of the cost of it? You know, I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah. You know, when you buy a razor from me, you've got a, well, while I'm alive, you've got somebody that'll help you along your way. But I always encourage, you know, getting, well, honing. You know, you don't have to get stones to hone. You can do it on bloody, what is it, that diamond sheet, like film and stuff. I've never gone down. Probably never will touch that stuff. But you know, there's many ways to skin a cat. You know, you can maintain a razor. This thing that annoys me sometimes, you get like reading online, people are saying, oh, it costs so much to get a straight razor and get into it. No, it don't. You can get a shave ready razor. Well, you can get one from me for like 30 quid plus postage wherever you are in the world, and then you can maintain it with ease. Like these are my little V strops that I use coming off. Coming off the stones, directly off the stones. I use these 1 micron, half a micron, quarter of a micron, diamond place, all from the same company. You know, just those alone, you'd be able to maintain it. But if you really just wanted to do cheap, you know, again, you don't have to use oak either. You could use NDF. You can use anything. You know, NDF is engineered to be flat, so you can just get a piece of leather over 3mm. Preferably heading towards 5mm, glue it on there, contact adhesive. You know, you can get leather all over the world. Just try and make sure it's half decent, Birdle levels, like some of the best. But let's just imagine that's the 1 micron, as it is, and that had no paste on it at all, so it was just a nice clean one. Well, when your razor starts snagging, you know, you could put it on there, you know, and as long as you're good with the old strops and everything, and you're not damaging the edge, you should get it back on the one. And then if that was nice and clean, well, that's the one you maintain it on, isn't it? Before every rate, like I always do sort of, well, with my hanging strops, sort of 15 laps after I shave, 15 laps before I shave. But you could use these. You know, they don't have to cost you next to nothing. So you only need a razor and you need these to get going, to get started, get doing it. Don't have to cost you loads of money. It's just a complete con. People saying, oh, you need this stone, you need that. You don't need these stones. They're just a luxury. You know, they're a nice thing to have, and eventually you can work your ways towards stones. And I mean, my first razors I got ready without any strops, and I had DMT plates. I ain't kidding you, I had DMT plates, and I bought this razor called a World Shipper, and it was a lovely little thing, I must say, like little Noz, and it was Noz as well, called World Shipper, that was from a dude in Germany who exported all over the world, and actually predominantly to Australia from what I could find. And it was just this lovely little Sologen razor, come in fine fettle. It was well set as well from the factory, it really was. And I've actually got it here, so I'll show you. I've got this DMT plate, and it's extra fine. And bugging me, I can't think what bloody grit it's kind of advertised at. But anyway, it is fine. And I was just at it for ages. And eventually, I got an edge. And I shaved with it, and then that was it. The bug had bitten me. And if you want to start out getting stones, I was told, and I do believe this is a good way of doing it, you start with the higher grits. So ideally you get a razor that's shave ready, truly shave ready, so then you've got a judge that you can feel and experience in a good way. You'll get a good outcome. You know, at least you've started with something that's as it should be. And then you start on the higher grits. So I went straight for the 12,000, but if I was going to do it again, I'd probably go for the 8,000, because you can shave off an 8,000 with a bit of stropping and that. It's just a lovely edge, and it's a bit cheaper. So I'd start with the 8, and then I'd get the 5. But then you don't have to get the 5, you see, because you could get the 2. So with a 2,000, I'm talking Shapton Pros because they're the only ones I really know. So then you could get a 2,000 Shapton Pro, and that really does bridge the gap, because that polishes slightly, but also cuts. You know, it don't cut as quick as a 1,000, but 1,000s can be a little bit rough sometimes. So if you started, you know, got an 8, got a 2, you'd get shaving. You really would with a strop. You really would get shaving. You know, and you know, that's not a cheap way of doing it, because Shapton Pros are quite dear, but they last a long time. You know, if you're somebody that was just going to actually shave with razors, they will last your lifetime. No kidding you. So that feels like that's coming along now. You can feel it on this stone. Once you get your touch and your feeling, you can feel when it's doing its job. With the old Majira slurry as well, you can see it's just flowing along the edge. I generally use rolling X strokes with everything. Whenever I get a razor in, that's what I put on it. See where I'm hitting. See where I'm hitting on the spine, see where I'm hitting on the edge, the very apex of the bevel. It's very rare I can get a razor that's absolutely flat. Look, see the whole time, look, the heel's popping up a tiny bit, completely normal. So look this side. See, that's a bit flat at that side. It's still flat, you know, that's considered flat. It's very rare for me to get a razor where I can just put it flat on the stone and then it's so rare. So over the years I've just adopted the rolling X strokes as my thing. And I always say to people, if you're going to learn to hone, rolling X strokes is your friend. It's not like one of the harder strokes to learn in a way, because you've got to manipulate the razor with your wrist and your fingers a little bit more, but it will hone any razor. You can get one that's rocking and rolling, you know, this way, that way, warped, geometry out, it don't matter, because if you learn to keep the contact point there and there at any point, at any time in your stroke, in your lap, you'll get an edge that meets. Some people say about, you know, like grinding the spine. Yeah, you can do that. You can flatten the spine, and then it will sit on the stone easier. But you've added loads of work that was unnecessary, in my opinion. You've wasted loads of metal just to make it a little bit easier to hone. I don't really care about easy. Horses for courses though, man. Everybody sees everything different, don't they? As long as you get an edge that shows, that's the only thing. Right, so that feels like that's kind of, let's do some little V's now. Let's get rid of the, or at least if there's any kind of micro wires, any kind of burrs, I think this does help to get rid of it. I like using all my stone. Something that goes up and down my stones, full laps. You pay for a stone, try and use all of it. Right, we'll have a little look under the old scope here. Let's just turn that on, takes a few seconds. You don't need a scope, I'll show you what I used to use. Oh, it's not actually a good example of the one I did use. These are alright, but the one I did use is better. It was an old-fashioned type. But they're just lopes. And if you want to know what lope to get, you get a camera lope. Around 8 to 10 magnification. Just a camera lope. They can cost you £8 for a half decent thing. And they do the job just fine. You don't need a microscope. I use them because they're quick, they're easy, and I like it. You know, I like them. Sometimes they can show you a bit too much. You have to sort of almost detrain your eye a little bit because you can see too much really in terms of the care for your you know, your face won't feel it. Right, no, there we go. Right, let's have a look what we've got here. Right, so to me, yeah, that's it. That's quite representative of what the Jnat edge, or at least my Jnat edge, does. It's got like a frosty-ish kind of look to it. It don't scratch the edge too much. Some natural stones will naturally scratch a bit, but this one's definitely what I'd call quite a frosty edge. See if we can get a different view of it when it's at a different angle, because it does look different in different views. Yeah, you can see it up there like the top sort of left corner. I rarely focus it to the middle, if you notice. You seem to get better views in the corners and stuff. I think it's to do with the aperture of the focus thing. If that's even right words. Yeah, but that's representative, I'd say, of the Magiro slurry finish. So what we do now is we just take that off. Give it a bit of a rinse. I'm not totally anal about getting the old, I will turn that around now just because it was the other way. Getting the old slurry off of it either really. I'm not really too fussed about that because I'm going to keep dumping water on it at this stage, so eventually it just, well, definitely come to a no slurry sort of finish anyway that you look at it. Again, let's just do some full laps to get going. This is where it changes feel quite a bit as well. A little tiny bit jumpy. That'll go in a minute though normally. That's normally when I first get going. Feels super smooth. It's a lovely little sort of wispy noise on this stone. I'm excited to get going on that Coticule. I've had it for a long time, and I've had a few Coticules over the years. I did have a really nice sort of another vintage one as well that had a little Belgian stamp on it. But it was when I didn't really know too much about it. I think it was years ago. I just ended up selling it. But to be fair, this one I've got is probably a better one than that, and it's definitely got better heritage, if you know what I mean, because I know a barber was using it, so, and one that used straights. He had a lot of Ogie razors, and he had some French razors, and he had these little Sheffield hollow grinds that were cut. I think they were unbranded but like Sheffield stamped. So he had some predominantly like half hollows, some quarter hollows, and some full, what we'd call nowadays full hollows. but from studying his sort of collection, I think he preferred the half hollows. They definitely seem to have a lot more use, and I think in a way he was probably selling razors, straight razors, because he seemed to have sort of quite a few that were all like nozzle wrapped up still, and you know, so in the meantime, I guess it makes me wonder whether it, like, because he was a travelling barber, which is quite a funny old concept in a way, isn't it, in today's world. Yeah, and I believe he probably did, as he went around, you know, in his sort of monthly route or whatever his sort of rotation was, I think he was sharpening other people's straight razors as well. So like, you might sell them, and then as he come back around, do their hair, touch up their razors. Obviously I'm kind of only speculating and assuming a little bit, but that's the kind of sense I was getting, because he's definitely had everything in his travelling kit to do all that, to do everything. And he used ham-on paste. I don't know if you put any study into sort of older strop compounds and systems and stuff. So ham-on paste was, I might not be saying that totally right, it was a French sort of setup, and you had two pastes, and one of them was quite coarse and then one of them was less coarse, and the coarse one you went straight off the stones onto that, give it a right good strop, and you actually just put it on the back, well, the back of a, well, you don't have to put it on the back of a strop, but he had like a piece of leather one side, and then on the back side of the leather it was just a piece of wood, and he'd put the paste on the wood, and then the less coarse, the finer paste was on the leather. He did have like a really clean strop as well. That was unsavable, that was, it all dried out. I think the paste that he'd put onto this like shell Cordovian strop that I saved actually helped save the strop, if that makes sense. I think it kept the leather just about moist enough, because it had dried out quite a bit. I used saddle soak to liven it up, clean it, get the old paste off. Right, see, that's stopped doing its all its juddering stuff now, and normally that's a sign to me that I've done enough. See how no like slurries sort of come up or anything. This stone don't really produce its own. Like, there is the odd occasion where it does a little bit, certain razors, but on the whole it's a very clean stone to work with. It don't really add nothing to the party. One little tip is, if you did, and when you do go down the old honing route and stones and everything, is learn the water, because you could hone a razor without touching it, without testing it, without doing anything to it, just by watching the water. The water will tell you everything. Like, it is something you have to get your eye in for. Right, let's have a little look. It feels like I've done its job. Yep. Right, let's record. So as you can see, that's got a bit shinier again now. See what I mean? It's just that little bit shinier. Some of that frostiness have actually sort of, it's come off a bit. So I believe that's good to go. We'll put it over the paddles and everything. Yeah. Let's move on. Excited to put the razor to it. Squirted by water then, didn't hit the screen, did it? Yeah, I've never even run a razor on a Coticule, so I have no sort of predisposed thoughts of what it's going to feel like. I imagine it's going to be quite creamy, but we'll see. I have sort of conditioned this stone. Well, it's not a really soft stone, but it's definitely a lot softer than my Jnat. But not, I would say, much softer than my first Jnat, my original Jnat, which was a lovely stone. I still think about it. Can't keep them all though, man. I can't anyway. Right, we're getting a nice little bit of slurry there. Looks somewhere near enough to me. Let's have a little look. So if you don't know nothing about this company, he was affiliated in some way with J.A. Hengel's. Guillermo Hoppe, I forget his actual name. But made tremendous razors. How long he was affiliated with them I do not know, but they definitely shared the same stamps for a while, and from my sort of research he kind of was one of the workers there and that. Well, it's making a very different noise. Got this razor by Potluck. Well, it weren't actually Potluck, was it? But it was somebody selling a job lot of razors. Bad pictures. Not on eBay, I think. Like an auction house. Sounds very different. And yeah, sort of just crap photos. All the razors look terrible. In just one photo I could see Guillermo Hoppe in a very faded way, and because I already got a Guillermo Hoppe coffin box, well not coffin box but a case for the other razor, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, do you know what, that looks like it might be a 14 razor. So I bid it, I won it, and it's turned out great, because now I've got another 14 razor from somebody that was affiliated with J.A. Hengel's. And if you don't already know, J.A. Hengel's is one of my favourite Sologen makes. and I've got a bit of a soft spot for them, and the soft spot cost me money. But the branding that they did back in the day still works on me now. But fundamentally it's because they made bloody good razors and they used some of the best Solingen steel, I reckon. They were one of the people to pioneer the processes of stainless steel, especially in razors, using cryogenic tanks for the tempering process. And they were definitely kind of quite an innovative company. And they just use good steel, you see, so I've always gravitated towards anything with good steel. I've got another 14 razor in the post, but I'm not going to talk about it because I ain't got it yet, and I don't like doing that, because if something happens I will cry. But let's just say it's my most expensive razor to date, and the wife's never going to hear about it, is she, gents? No, she's not. If there's one, when I get it, hope, it'd be the one razor that I will never sell. Because for one, I'll never get my money back for it, because I've paid very much top tier. But also, because it's a 14 razor with Swedish steel. So there's been rumours forever that the 14 razors might have used a bit of Swedish ore and stuff just to get it nice and thin but still cut like a dream. But there's no kind of evidence of any Swedish steel, because there's no razors with Swedish steel or anything on them. Whereas this one has got Swedish steel stamped on the face of the razor and on the box. So I can't bloody wait. It's 24.3 I think, or 4 mil. So it's nearly a full 14 razor. And these hopes, you see, they didn't come out the factory, or at least most of them didn't come out the factory as a full inch. There were, from my research, which has been quite extensive with these razors, I just don't think they did a lot of them coming out the factory at sort of like over 24.5 mil. Most of them are sort of 24 mil. Like that one, my other one, you know what I mean, that's nearly 24 mil, and that had much off that, and this one's had a little bit more wear. And it's got my most dreaded thing in Razorland. People chasing the freaking toe around like that. I hate it. It is one of my things in Razorland that I just don't like, because if you start chasing that around on the lower grits, you will ruin your razor profile. You really will. It keep chasing it around every single time, more and more and more. So my routine with them is, if I have to take it down to the diamond plates, stay well away from it. If I have to take it down to the 320, stay well away from it. The 1000, I stay away from it until the last few laps of the 1000, just to see what I'm going to hit. So like, I look at the scuff marks on the microscope, scratch marks, and see if when I tilt it up a bit, does it hit it? And then on the 2000, I actively start hitting it, but I'm just very, very careful that I don't take it to the very end. Like, that's my motto anyway. Obviously I'm talking about micro mils here, so. Well, without looking at the edge, this feels like a lovely stone. I'm so happy now that I've kept it, because I did nearly sell it a couple of times. Just because I was, I've got my finisher, I was happy with it, with my Jnat. But it feels lovely. It makes a really nice sound. I do like the sounds that stones make. I can smell it. It makes a very different smell to my Jnat. And it's even leaving a bit of metal behind, isn't it? I believe. So this is definitely not got the remnants of the 12,000 edge on it now, really. They can be a bit finicky, I think, from my sort of readings over the years. Coticles can be a little bit hit and miss with razors. Like they do still sell them from the same mines and stuff, and the dude that sells them seems rather genuine and everything, and he's got like razor grades. Whether he's doing that by just looking at them, I don't know. But I've heard quite good things about them. Some of them basically are a little bit too coarse, a little bit too soft, and they can put little tiny microchips in the very apex of your bevel. But if you get a good one, they've been known for, well, centuries really, aren't they, that they're great razor finishers. Sounds like it's getting louder. Do some little V's. You have to be a little bit careful when you've got a narrower stone to what you're used to, because there's the possibility that you might tip the razor a little bit more. I'm pretty good with that now though. That's what I use this finger for. This finger's basically doing nothing, barely anything. It's just making sure that I don't tip the razor at all, really, more than anything. And I do apply a little bit of pressure past the halfway mark. And again, it's because I do the rolling X strokes as my prime sort of stroke. I think it just adds to the precision of everything. That's what I believe. Again, whether that's true, who knows? Just get that out of there now. I don't need to be in there. Right, let's have a gander. So what we're looking for predominantly is no chipping. Oh, I ain't pressed bloody record, have I? Sorry. Right. There we go. No, we're not. There we go. Right, there we go. Yeah, so what we're looking for first off is no chipping on the very edge. And we're pretty confident with that. And what we're getting, well, we're getting a nice frosty edge. It's a bit more frosty than my Jnat, which I was assuming before I started that it might be. It's a softer stone. Don't look like it's got rid of the invisible edge. Still, I can normally see the very... Oh, I'm happy with that. That seems really good, doesn't it? Obviously, the proof's always in the pudding. So until you shave with something you don't know, I must have nearly 10 stones waiting to be tested. I've got ones that were advertised as razor hones from like 100-year-old. They've still got, some of them had the little the paper sort of sheath. So I'm interested to get doing a few of them over the next few months. Now winter's setting in, get doing a bit more honing and razor stuff. Be lovely if I found a touring gun in one of them, wouldn't it? I've got like, I must have sort of like, I don't know, 6 or 7 blue stones. So it feels quite a bit different without the slurry, which is to be expected. Hang on, I ain't turned that off. Right, there you go. What a donk. Yeah, it feels very different, I must say that. Nice. To me, that's a good sign though. That means the slurry's doing its job. Let's see if we can get any kind of like swarf coming on. And if we do, it means we know we're still cutting a bit. Wow. On a basic kind of thing. I don't know what that line is there. It's not a crack, because it don't go through either side. But as you can see, it's not bothering it. I've got a job lot of straight razors coming from America. Oh, I think there's 19 razors coming. They've not left the shores of America yet. So until they leave the shores of America, I'm always sort of pensively waiting, I think is the word. But there's 19 razors and I just want one. And it's an Ebru razor. Can't really tell how big it is. I didn't want to ask him because he might not accept my offer. If he started thinking he's got something valuable. It's got some nice pressed horn scales. Hopefully they're okay when I get them. They do look alright. The photos are not that great. But it's a Joseph Wolstenholme. So it's completely separate, I think, from George Wolstenholme. But equally they made marvellous razors. And one of their brands was the Ebru stamp. And it actually got used for a number of razor brands over the years, but they were like one of the main people to use it. I think there's 2 razors in there that's utter tat, just to get the scales off, or if I can save anything. But I think there's probably about 15 razors that turn out alright. I didn't get them cheap, but there's a couple of nice ones in there. There's some American razors as well. I've only got one American razor. I've got a Tory. But there's some ones from memory. I think there's some from Chicago, but I'm interested to have a look at them at the very least. Can't really say I'm a fan of American razors, but it's because I ain't had none or anything. But I know they started making some great steel. Well, I know they took a lot of craftspeople from Sweden, for instance. I know the Tory company, paid for, well, Swedish craftsmen basically to come and share their knowledge, and especially on the metal side, I imagine, because you can get a recipe, you can get the ore, you can get told how to do it, but back in the day, like when they first started out, the Tory company and everything, it was still sort of touch and feel a bit, the metal industry, whereas now it's just bloody ingredient list, because they can separate everything to such a finite degree. It's took the fun out of it probably. And that's why the Tory company used a lot of Swedish steel, and also they had real fancy grinds. Right. Super smooth. It's nice. Super happy I kept it. Like I said, I've nearly sold it a couple of times. It does feel really nice without the slurry. There's quite a bit of resistance with the slurry. And it's not, notice how it's not taking off swarf or anything. So it goes to show the power of its own juice. Try that Coticule slurry with it next, and then try the Maduro slurry with it. I kind of imagine the Coticule slurry is going to act, well, a bit like the diamond slurry. But again, it's from a different stone. I'll say it's from a different stone. It's actually from the same barber's lot though. So this stone, I'll just quickly divert here. This stone was a cut off that was that wide, and it had, let's try how we're going to do this. So it had a flat plateau that went up on a curve and then flatted off again. So from this angle it went kind of flat, and then it curved that way and then flat again. It weren't a massive curve, and it weren't a big step kind of thing, but it was a strange old thing. I couldn't figure out what the hell it was for. And if I'd have flattened it, I'd have lost nearly all of like the white juice, like the white part of the stone. So I was just like, let's just cut it up and turn it into a slurry stone. And I did, and I sold the other ones for, well, cheap price. And a couple of dudes were really happy with them, because they've been sort of after for a Coticule slurry stone, but it's not something you see. You know, and I'm not one to want to chop up stones to get a slurry stone, especially if it's a good stone. Right, let's do some V's again. Let's have a bit of a finish up here. Lovely stone though. So I've got 3 guaranteed natural finishes now. I just need a German finisher, that's what I really want, but prices seem to have gone just through the roof with them at the moment. And anything that's got a bloody piece of card or paper on it or anything like that, it's just stupid money. And it saddens me because a lot of people that get these stones who've got pieces of paper, they won't even bloody use them. Just sit there with them. It's really baffling, that is. Like, I can understand collecting one as a really good example, but what's the point in collecting like 5, 6 of them? Right, yeah, that definitely is very, very smooth. Kind of a bit surprised how smooth it is. In a nice way though. Especially as that's come off a DMT plate as well, like the diaflat plate, which is bloody coarse. You know, it's designed for grinding and flattening. So that will get smoother. Right. So that has 100% gone a bit shinier. Definitely gone a bit shinier. Yeah. Which is, you know, what I expected. Brilliant. So, I'm happy with them. I'll stop there and we'll have a look. See how my face likes them, eh? That's what I say. Right, I will just quickly do these paddle strops. Since I've been add these little paddle strops, my edges have definitely improved. More on the consistency side of life, meaning I'm getting good edges easier, I'd say. And I think it just helps align the little tiny shark's teeth, as I call them, before I put it on a strop, like a proper strop that gets heat into the edge. Because I don't think these would get much heat into the edge because they're just doing little V strops. So in a way these are sort of, in my head, they're polishing the very edge. I try and be very light as well with my touch and the feel, so to not deform or warp the steel in any way, in the hope that it does hit the very apex of my edge. And again, not too many really, because otherwise you don't. I like to feel the stone edge, if you know what I mean. Like some people, they you know, really hammer their razors on pasted strops before they go to a normal strop and everything. But then sometimes I think you lose the cutting ability of what the stone's done. That's the half micron. Let's do the quarter micron. That's the Coticule. Yeah, that's the Coticule one. I can always tell what one's what, even though they're the same razors, because this one's on the toe, like, because it's got that curly like edge a bit. It also indicates it on the old spine. People live jacking up their razors, you see. I used to do it a bit, I must say, like, but then I soon realised what I was doing. Must stop doing that, I said. I remember chasing the edge of that around on a bloody wedge, and as soon as you do it on a wedge, that's it. Right, let's do. This is the Jnat one. I'll stick them. Sorry, I was not in the middle, was I, at all over there? It's got some weird sort of grime marks, if you know. I don't know if you're picking it up on the camera. Towards the edge. Going back quite far actually, and I did think about sanding them out, but I thought, nah, I think it actually looks quite cool in a way. Because I could sand them out. Don't know whether somebody's done it after. Just don't matter to me. There's no scratches here, they're all like just on this edge bit. Like I said, I could sand them out, but I can't, weirdly I like them, and I don't like scratches on the razors. But it's because they're all kind of very uniform, I guess. And not all over the face and the back face. Nice and controlled strokes as well, especially doing this just off the stones. Make it nice and controlled and constant. Like I said again, I think like the little V-laps, they help get rid of just the tiny little wires that can appear on the edge sometimes that you can't even see on my microscope. Well, you can actually sometimes see them. Gonna make something to eat after this. Have a nice coffee. Go and have a shave then after that. Or shall I have it before and get a bit juddery sometimes after? Have an old coffee. I had a shave the other day with a straight. After I did some exercising, so I got these mace balls and I exercise with them sometimes. Chucking my mace balls around in my garden and stuff. Went upstairs, had a shave. Oh my days, I was like shaking because like the blood pumping through me. Not the best moves. To be fair though, as soon as you touch the razor on your face, it stops it all. But I was a bit like, oh, feel that blood pumping, man. That's about it. And what you've seen there is what I do to all my razors, whether they're mine, whether they're, you know, there's no real difference to mine to the ones I sell. There really ain't. I pay the same about attention to nearly everything, really. Like sometimes, for instance, like this one now, this has been honed 3 times. Yeah, 3 times at least, because I honed it once and it was still a great shaver. there was a bit on it, I can't remember now. I think it was the toe. It was a little bit bitty. Like, it was still popping hairs, but it was just a tiny bit off. So then I honed it again, and then it was a lot better. Even when I was shaving alright anyway. But then, yeah, like as I said, because I polished it a bit on the buffing wheel, generally after that, I always re-hone it. And I took it down to the 5. But it depends. If you've got a tiny little microchip or something on it, sometimes you have to take it back to a 2. But yeah, well, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you got something from it. At the very least, you've seen some nice razors and a nice stone. Where's she gone? Let's hope it turns out alright. I think it's gonna, like, from touch and feel, sound, all that kind of stuff, I think it's gonna be alright. But like I say, and always, the proof is in the pudding. We've got to put steel to face. Right. Adios. I'll see you later, guys. Toodaloo.